Okay, hello. So we are now on chapter 3 of The Accidental Prime Minister. So off we go. So the last chapter, in the first chapter, we found out that Joe had gone viral. And in chapter 2, we saw Joe be really brave and stand up to the Prime Minister, and people actually applauded him. They were proud of him. So let's go for chapter 3, which is called Fame. Viral? Am I ill? Joe said with panic in his voice. Is it serious? No, viral, as in, oh, just watch. AJ clicked the button on his phone and it began to play. It took Joe a second or two to realize that what he was looking at, but then he made out a face. It was, yes, there was no mistaking it. It was his face. What? It's me. My nan in Mumbai has just sent it to me, AJ said excitedly. Joe was dumbstruck. His speech was being replayed before his eyes. He'd only said it half an hour ago. Sorry, just 1 second. He'd only said it half an hour ago, and already he was being watched around the world. He buried his face in his hands. He'd made a fool of himself, and now the whole world was watching. Joe took a peek through his fingers, expecting AJ to be as horrified and as embarrassed as him. But he was smiling. I mean, proper big smiles. His mate was enjoying it. This could be big for us, Joe. We could be millionaires, said AJ. Look how many people have watched it. Mr. Brooks grabbed the phone. 150,000 hits, he screamed. Don't be ridiculous, Mr. Brooks, snapped AJ. Oh, phew, Joe sighed. That's 1.5 million hits, AJ grinned. It took Joe a moment to register what AJ had just said. What? 1.5 million, AJ said. Finished off his sentence for him, grinning like a cat that not only had found the cream, but had stumbled across his own dairy. I mean, I know at least 5 of them have been my nan. Look, you can see my nose in the background, but 1.5 million, man! Joe, are you listening to me? But Joe wasn't listening. He was feeling very peculiar. He sat down on the floor as if suddenly weighed down. It had taken all his nerve to say something to the Prime Minister in the first place, and now it had gone global. He didn't want any of this. He just wanted to stop the park from being closed and for his mum to keep her job. You're not going to throw up, are you? Mr. Brooks said, wincing. I don't want anyone throwing up in here. Ugh, Joe said. It was all he could manage. I know that sound. It's a throwy-uppy kind of sound, Mr. Brooks said. Well, perhaps if you stop mentioning that word, AJ said crossly, he might not, throw up, Mr. Brooks said. Amazing, AJ sighed. AJ sat next to Joe and put his arm around him. Joe, man, you've done nothing wrong. What you said, well, it was cool. I don't want to be cool. Cool is for other people. I want to be me. Ugh, Joe yelled. Okay, forget cool, forget it. But people are talking about you. Do you know what this means? No, what? I'm not sure, but I think it just means free sweets somehow. We might even get to be on TV again, or travel the world, or something. But the most important thing is, this could help save the park. That's what you want, isn't it? They both looked at each other slowly and slowly but surely Joe began to grin. Sure, it was I'm quite queasy, a May bath at the moment sort of grin, but it was a grin all the same. Do you really think we could save the park? Joe asked. Deep in the heart of number 10 Downing Street, Deep in the heart of number 10 Downing Street, a pair of grand old doors burst open, letting rip a crack that sent a shockwave through the building. Violetta stalked down the corridor with a face like thunder, a phone clenched in her hand, and and blood vessels popping in her forehead, like rivers of hot red lava. I see Violetta's back, Jenkins muttered, peering over his half-moon glasses. Jenkins was a gentleman with an air of sophistication about him. He looked and sounded as though he was born in the wrong time, a relic from a forgotten England, a distant echo from a different age. He was old and very, very posh, is what I'm basically trying to say. Jenkins was the Prime Minister's personal private secretary. His job was to make sure that the Prime Minister could do his. Despite his gentlemanly appearance, he was a fearsome man, with a brain so clever it was a wonder it could all be fit in one head. He had the world-weary air of a man who had worked for every Prime Minister for the last 40 years, and he was scared of no one, least of all puffed-up deputy Prime Ministers in the mood for an argument. "Where is he?" Violetta yelled, slamming her phone down on the desk so hard that one poor office worker peed his pants and had to be taken to a dark room to be wrung out like a flannel. Oh my goodness. "Hi, Zoe." Jenkins took one last slurp of tea and folded his paper neatly. Who? He asked calmly. This seemed to enrage Violetta even more. "Lord Duck of Thickham!" "Who else, you blithering idiot?" Violetta raged at Jenkins. "Oh, the PM is just through there," Jenkins said, nodding at a closed door. Violetta burst through into the Prime Minister's office to find the Prime Minister under his desk on the phone. He hung up as soon as he saw Violetta's grisly expression. He's hiding. And this is Violetta storming into the secretary's office. "Now, Violetta, I can assure you that I had no idea whose luxury yacht I was sailing on the other day. I mean, if I'd known that it belonged to one of the FBI's most wanted criminals, I certainly wouldn't have been on board." "Oh, shut it now. I haven't told the newspapers about that one yet. You're safe for a day or so." "So it was you who told them about all the other stuff," Percival shouted, pointing his sausage finger at her face. "Hi, Leon." "Oh, you've only just figured that one out, have you, large brain? Why don't you just do as I said? All you had to do was get out of the car, smile, refuse to answer any questions, and tell them in a few days that you were going to resign because you were ill, or wanted to spend more time with your goldfish, or anything. But no, you couldn't even do that properly, could you? We had an agreement. You hand the job over to me, and you don't go to jail." "Sorry, Violetta, please don't hurt me. I panicked. They asked me. They asked me questions. I have my pride. Coming from a man sat under a table hiding, that doesn't mean a whole lot." "Oh, it gets much worse than that," Violetta, Jenkins interrupted, entering the room. "That boy, the one who called the PM a useless warthog, is all over the news. In fact, he's everywhere. He seems to have achieved more popularity in 2 hours than you achieved in 20 years. Jenkins began to read from a phone. "They should make that boy PM and get rid of Percival and Violetta," it says here. "Joe for PM. He da man," whatever that means. Violetta grabbed the mobile off Jenkins. What? She was so furious, it's no exaggeration to say her eyes went red with rage. "It can't be. Who does he think he is? I will not let one tiny little runt upstage me. All my life I've been waiting, always second best. Well, not anymore." Violetta hurled the phone at the wall where it smashed into 100 pieces. "What do you think of that, Jenkins? Impressive, of course. It would have been more so if it wasn't your phone." "What? I was handing you your own phone, the one you left on my desk." "Ha ha ha ha," Percival laughed. "Oh, shut up, duck features," Violetta hissed. "Nothing is going to stop me from becoming the next Prime Minister. Not you, not him, nothing." Oh, so Violetta is not happy at all. The Prime Minister is not a very confident Prime Minister. I don't know what he's doing. And Jenkins is quite a calm man. I like Jenkins. So I wonder what's going to happen next. That was chapter 3. I'm really enjoying this book. Will Joe become Prime Minister, or will Violetta become Prime Minister? She said she's not going to let anyone take her place. Let's see what happens next tomorrow. See you tomorrow, superstars. I hope you enjoyed that.